Just kidding. But we're like seriously so excited to have you guys here. We were like, what if everyone bills? But for real, like, thank you for coming to support this. This is so fun for us. Like, I'm having such a blast, like, forcing people to be my friend and like, but yeah, just a few things before we start. One, we have no idea how long this class is going to be. I tried to time it and I was like, this might be 3 hours, it might be 30 minutes, who knows, but we don't know. Second of all, there's wine and like stuff to get you crunk back there, but don't drink unless you're at least 21, because otherwise, or at least now that I say that, you can't sue me, okay, if you get a ticket. So do what you want, but don't drink. Sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. There's a photo booth set up in the studio that's like behind that really cool wall back there. So like once this is done, we're gonna have like a little competition contest thing, and we're all gonna go take photos of each other in there. And then we're gonna dance and just eat all the cheese possible and all fart together. It'll be so great. But oh, and then if you have a fold-up chair, also you guys, the chairs literally took like 10 of us to figure out how to set it up. I'm like
none of us can count.
Yeah, we were like, this should be enough. Like, a pole isn't in people's way, so I'm so sorry if you like if something's in the way. But yeah, like we're like super excited that the Foundry let us do this here. Yeah, we'll do the class and then we'll dance and have fun. And oh, we're gonna do a raffle. Everyone filled out a raffle ticket, yeah? Everyone just. Great. Cool, I think that's it. Oh, and then when you fold up your chair afterwards, I'm like so scatterbrained. When you fold up your chair afterwards, lean it against those tables back there. Just don't lean it against that piece of art, because apparently it's like worth $1 million or something. Just kidding, but it's, don't touch it. But seriously. Don't touch it. Oh, and then I put this in the email earlier, but like there's gonna be that contest, or like, what do we call that? There's a really cool prize at the very end, and you're gonna wanna take lots of like photos and things like that. So like during our presentation, feel free to like take little snaps or photos and things like that, so you can like use it to enter the little thing that we got going on. So anyways, I'm so excited. I'm gonna teach first. Is that cool? Oh, well, we should introduce ourselves. Okay, here we go. How do you make it go?
Is it on?
Oh, shit! Here we go. Okay, so first I just wanted to like kind of tell you guys why I wanted to do this, in case you didn't know. So I've met like some of my very best friends at workshops, like Grace too. Grace puts on these like incredible, really fun workshops. And I don't know, I've met some of like my closest photography friends, and it's just like a really cool way to bring community together. And I realized like a little while ago that all my photography friends are like all over the world, and I don't even know like anyone in Utah. And so I was like, okay, I need to force people to be my friends. I'm not like so alone. And so I just wanted to kind of like do something to like bring community together. And like, it's like so hard making friends as adults. Like, how else are you supposed to meet people? We need like a Tinder or something for photographer friends.
Smart.
And then like education isn't always that affordable, like especially for workshops and things like that, which is so understandable. Like so much goes into them. It's crazy. Yeah. So we just wanted to do something that was like really low key and chill and like helpful for people, and I don't know, just like fun and relaxed, I guess. And then lastly, like I feel like I'm a firm believer in like community over competition. I feel like you've all probably heard that before, but like I truly believe that like the more we lift each other up, the more we succeed on our own. So yeah, just like trying to like help one another. I was just talking to someone that she was the first person, her name's Ty. Where are you, Ty? I don't see you. Hi. She was the first person to ever teach me anything in photography. I was like 15, and I would message people and they wouldn't message back. They would tell me that I was ridiculous, that I would ask them like, what camera do you use and stuff like that. And she was like so nice and let me come to her house, and she like taught me all these things that she knew. And I remember being like, I want to be this someday for someone else. So it's like really cool that she's here. I'm fangirling that she's here. She's amazing. But anyways, that's kind of the point of it, and it's fun. So yay. I'm so excited to dance with you guys, and yep, it's gonna be great. So a little background on who you are. I know some of you may only know Grace, some of you may only know me.
More likely.
So
it's cool.
Yeah, it's
like I'm only here for you anyways. Like, so, let's be honest.
Oh, the colors on this, great.
It's like real saturated.
I love red. I love red. So this is who I am and the things that I care about. Obviously my dogs, duh. That's Miko and that's Lucy and that's the person back there that I kiss sometimes. And this is just kind of like my whole world. I live in Salt Lake City. I've lived here for 2 years. Before that, I went to college for, I don't know, I dropped out, whatever. Yeah, that's like, oh, and I became a photographer like 9 years ago, so I'm 23 now. I started when I was 14 and just started in like surrealism photography, where I do like self-portraits on a tripod, and they were awesome. I edited all of them with Picnic, if any of you know who that is. Yes.
I still use Picnic. I'm kidding.
Oh, I was like, they discontinued it. Or did they bring it back?
My whole class is like on Picnic. How to edit in Picnic. I'm kidding.
Just bring it back to the basics. Yeah, I remember when they discontinued it, I was like, oh, I have to learn Photoshop now? But yeah, that's like a little background of who I am, and yeah, and now.
This is me. I'm Grace. Hi, guys. So I'm from Oregon. We can just say I'm from Portland because like nobody knows anything else besides Portland. I've been a wedding photographer for about 6 years professionally. I just like did a complete rebrand. I went through a divorce, and I was a husband and wife team with my ex, and I just went through a complete rebrand. So now I'm just working on my own. I also run the Let's Go workshop. I don't know if anybody's heard, but it's in Oregon, and that's like, Indy and I partied real hard. Let's go last year. But
oh my gosh.
Yeah, and this is the most important thing in my whole world. My daughter Winter. We have matching beanies. True story, Amazon sent me a baby size on accident. Like, I ordered one for myself, but whatever. Now we match. But this is why workflow, like, was kind of what we're gonna talk about and like what our whole workshop is about. But she's the reason why workflow is so important to me, because like as a single parent, as a parent in general, as a business owner, like we just are always behind our computers, and it's like, we just have no life a lot of times. And so for both of us, like workflow is so important because like we want to live life, like we want to be there for our dogs and our children and our partners. And yeah, so that's kind of a little bit about me. Yeah, I'll talk a lot more when it's like my turn, but I think you're first. Yeah,
so I'm up. Cool. This whole class is on how to do this. Okay. I hate myself. Okay, so this is what you're gonna learn. So we're gonna go over 3 efficient tools you're not utilizing in Lightroom, how to get the most out of your post-editing process. So like once you're actually done editing, what to do with the files, and then how much your workflow is actually costing you. So first off, top 3 tools you're not utilizing in Lightroom. First, we'll go over all of this. I'm gonna show examples. I'm gonna edit for you guys. Adjustment brush and gradient, the color dropper selection tool, and then syncing your images. Okay. All right, first off, the adjustment brush. So there's so many things that this brush is capable of. It's like crazy. If I could only use one tool in Lightroom, it would be this. And I am always so surprised when I teach my students and stuff about it, and they're like, I had no idea this existed. And I'm like, how do you literally even edit? Yeah, I'm gonna walk you through like the main things that I use it for, and how awesome it is. And like, I seriously use it on like almost every one of my photos. So first, dodging and burning. Dodging and burning is like kind of derived from film photography back in the day. It was where they would lighten different parts of the images and burn different parts of the images to darken them. So dodge is to lighten and burn is to darken. So this is basically like a way to do controlled contrast. I have found for some reason, the more that you like mess with the contrast slider in Lightroom, the weirder skin tones get. And like a huge part of my style is like true skin tones, like looking real and not edited, while still having that like really punchy contrast. So this is like a huge part of my style, is using dodge and burn. So I'll kind of show you guys how to use that. So when and where to burn, and then when and where to dodge. So I'll kind of walk you through this, show examples. So first off, I burn to add extra depth into my images. So I'll do that usually anywhere that there are existing shadows to start off with. So a lot of times I'll do it on people's bodies, faces especially. You can like literally contour people's faces with dodge and burn and make them like look super fleek. I can't believe I just said that word. Never mind. Pretend it didn't happen. Cut it out, Jay. And then environment for sure. I can't stand flat light and also flat environments that just have no depth at all. It's like hard for me to like feel creative with it. And so I'm always burning areas that are flat, like when you're shooting on grass or sand or just like plain fields, which you get a lot of that in Utah. So I'll show you guys an example of that. Anytime I want to bring attention to the subject, I'll burn whatever is distracting me. So when I'm looking at an image, I kind of let my eyes relax. I'm not usually like really looking at it that hard. So once I first like land on an image, I relax my eyes and I just let my eyes wander where they want. And I don't do this with like every single photo. Like I'm not doing this with like cutting cake photos, but usually like portraits and stuff. I just see like where my eyes are drawn to very first. And if it's not the subject of the photo and it's not like something that I intentionally am drawing attention towards, I'm going to burn it just to kind of darken it so that more attention is drawn by the viewer to the subject. Is this all making sense? So like same thing with dodging, when and where to dodge. Anywhere that you want to bring attention to. So it goes hand in hand. So if you like, I don't know, it's always like done on a case-by-case basis, but there's sometimes where I'm like, okay, like I really want to bring out this like little highlight that's there, but I want to strengthen. Or I want to bring out this person's face a little bit more. It's kind of hidden. Dodging is really easy to get carried away with because you're basically creating light in the image. So my like #1 rule is only to dodge areas that light already exists. I'm just strengthening the light that is already there. I'm not trying to create light that wasn't already present, or else it's going to start looking really fake and edited. And I always want my images to look real and not edited, basically. So again, I love to dodge on people's like skin, like their arms, on their faces for contouring. And then a lot of people ask me like, why not just add contrast? And it's like I said, like the more contrast you add, the more it degrades the quality of skin and how real and like rich skin is. It really starts to mess with the color. So this is basically how I add contrast into my images while preserving skin tones. So I'm going to do this. Here we go. So I'm going to go through a few images with each thing I'm teaching about so you guys can see examples. All right, so this image already has an edit on it, obviously, and I have my own burn brush. You guys can like screenshot it and take a photo of it, but it's just like my improved burn brush. So in the adjustment brush right here, oh, I guess I should intro if you don't know what this is. This is the adjustment brush. It's this paint brush. The same effects will be created through the gradient brush. It's just different shapes, as well as the radial filter right here. So the adjustment brush. So first of all, wait, I just thought of something. Jay, I forgot to screen record this.
Just start now.
Okay.
Start
what?
Over. Start over. Start
okay, thank you guys so much for coming. We're professional. Shut up.
You can edit that out. It's okay.
Yeah. We'll just cut it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is the adjustment brush. So there's a lot of brushes included with your Lightroom. And it also kind of depends on what version of Lightroom you have, what is and isn't included, but there's always going to be a dodge and burn brush. So I have my own burn. This is what it is. What?
Burn, baby, burn.
Burn, baby, burn. So this is like my tweaked version of a burn. So basically what it's doing is it's adding contrast, it's pulling back exposure, and then just kind of like muting highlights and whites. And I love it. It's like my go-to for everything. I usually never mess with it unless I'm strengthening it. So I'm just gonna go through and show you like what areas I would typically burn. So if I'm relaxing my eyes on this image, I want the focus to be right here on her because she's like insanely beautiful. But my eyes are kind of drawn to this like kind of brighter area. Her arm is like right in the center of the photo, so I'll burn that as well as burn around here because her face is a little bit dark in this photo. So I'm just gonna go through and drag my little burn brush all over. And what's really cool about this is you can like adjust the strength, you can layer it. I use it for a lot of different things. So that's my first burn, and I'll open it back up. I'm gonna burn over here one more time. Sometimes I'll like go in and add a little bit more contrast. So now I'm gonna, whoa. Oh gosh, okay. I'm gonna go into the dodge tool. Who can, oh, there it is. So I usually have it around like 10 to 15. Like I said, you can get really carried away with this really fast. So before I finalize, anytime I'm burning something, I make sure to turn it off and on or strengthen and like mellow it out a couple times to make sure that I'm not making it look too fake or edited, basically. So I'm gonna come in and I want to do the existing highlights that I wanna bring out. So I like the highlights up here on him. I'm gonna strengthen it a little bit. I love her fuzzy hair, so I wanna bring attention to that. Of course, her eyes, maybe a little bit right there. And this is something that I feel like you just kind of mess with and learn on your own, like when and where you like to dodge things. So like, if I wanted to brighten his suit jacket, I'm not gonna do the whole thing. I'm gonna just do the existing highlights. So just like right there, that's like crazy strong, so I'm actually not gonna do that, but yeah, so I just kind of go through and I just like gently place it in like little spots here and there. And then this is when I'm gonna check it. So that's like without and that's with. So I'm gonna kind of go in the middle. And then I'm gonna zoom in. Oh, why do I keep doing that? Okay, so I'm gonna go in a little bit further with my dodge and I'm just gonna kind of highlight these little pieces of her face. And I'm never changing the way that they look. I'm just bringing more attention to what I feel like has beautiful details. So, great. And then I might do one more layer of burning. And I don't do this on every photo, like I said. I always do it with my favorites or like with portraits. Just kind of bringing out faces a little bit. And yeah. So now I'll show you guys before and after. Let's see. Probably right here. So that's without, and that is with. So you can really see like the difference of like before and after. Like so much of the attention is drawn into her face now, rather than like kind of like this big open bright area in the bottom. And that's just like a stylistic choice, but that's how I do my images. Next one. Same couple. Also, literally, this is so orange. Sorry.
Is that the Oregon coast?
Yeah. Yeah, this is at Grace's workshop, actually. She set this up. So cool. So I'm going to teach you. Oops, forgot. I was practicing for you guys. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys the gradient brush. So it does the exact same thing as the adjustment brush, but it does it with a gradient. So a gradient is basically a very strong effect, faded out to nothing, and you can control how much it fades, where it fades, and things like that. I never use the radial gradient because I feel like it looks like a vignette and it just looks ugly. So I only ever do this gradient tool. So to me, like a lot of this is a little bit distracting, like how bright the rocks are, because they are kind of a darker subject in this scene with like all the white over here and like these bright rocks. So I'm gonna take the burn gradient and just kind of pull it over here. So you can see how you can like fade it in and out just by dragging. So I'll just kind of place that. Sometimes I'll layer them on top of each other. Oh, geez. There's already one there. I should have deleted that, sorry. Yeah, so that way a lot more attention is like drawn into them. And now I'm gonna kind of just burn back here. And once you like start getting used to this, you get really, really fast at it. So it doesn't take a ton of time. Whoop. And then you can also erase. So erasing is really nice, especially when you're dealing with skin tones. Ta-da! So that's just like another example of with and without. Let me go back to where it doesn't have any so you guys can see.
India, just press Y.
Why?
And it shows before.
Oh yeah, I wanna, well, yeah. I like wanna show it with the edit on top of it, but yeah, that's like a little before and after. So you can see how it brings so much more attention and depth into the pre-existing shadows. Do this one. Is this all making sense, guys? Yeah, pretty easy, right? Yeah, I've used this brush more than anything in my workflow. Oh, what?
And do you use the gradient more or the burn and the dodge? Like, or is it
it's the same. So I use the gradient less than the adjustment brush, but not that much less.
Yeah.
The gradient is really nice because it does a large area all at once.
Yeah, you don't have to individually like go through.
Yeah, I don't have to like paint it on.
Yeah.
So it like fades it for me and everything. So, All right, so that's like another before and after with and without dodging. So I just love it to like really bring in attention to the spaces that you want attention to be brought. Oh my gosh, she looks like she has a crazy spray tan. Cool, makes sense everyone? Yeah? All right. Oh. Okay. All right, fixing skin. This is another really awesome thing for the brush. It's like the best way to get rid of blotchiness, discoloration, rough skin, large pores, texture, and turn it into like a non-distracting, even coloring, smooth texture, and like really real looking skin. So I'm really trying to do the very least to skin when I'm editing. I want the skin to basically be untouched. Because like I said a million times, I don't want it to ever look edited. So it's great, like the things that I use the brush for specifically to get even skin tones is adjusting the temperature, the tint, and the contrast. So the temperature and tint are great because I can kind of control their skin. A lot of times when you're shooting, especially in the cold, like right now in Utah, everyone's like really pink. And sometimes they might be wearing like a red dress or something orange or yellow or something like that. And then when you touch those sliders to adjust their skin tone to not be like borderline purple, it changes the color of what they're wearing and things like that. So the adjustment brush is great because you can take their skin tone back to a normal looking color. And then pulling back contrast is the best way to me to like smooth out skin without actually like making it look like you can dip a cracker in it. You can soften without sacrificing the texture by pulling back clarity. I'll show you guys how to do that. A lot of people ask me like, okay, but when I pull back the clarity, it looks like super smudgy and gross. So to balance that out, I'll add grain on top of it to kind of add that texture and that grit back. And it just saves a ton of time healing and cloning. I remember when I used to sit there and like for every like bump or divot on their skin, I would be like clicking every single tiny thing and it would take forever. So the brush is really nice because I can just do like a once over on their whole face, and then anything that the brush didn't catch, I can just go in and get like the two big things with the healing brush instead. And you can control the opacity so you can turn it up and down to see what looks most natural, which you can't do that when you're editing the image as a whole. So, show you guys how to do that. Okay. Skin. Okay. Great, great, great. Their skin is actually like really, really nice. I think. I love how like gritty it looks. So like I never take out things that are naturally on people. So like their freckles, of course, they're like little moles and things like that. Like I'm not trying to take that away. I'm just trying to take, or like I guess bring more attention to the parts of their face that they would want attention on. Like I kind of put myself in their situation of like, okay, if this was a photo of me, would I be like thinking about like my like chin acne or something like that? So I'm only trying to take out things that are temporary on their skin. So I go to the adjustment brush. I go to my own skin brush. So if you guys want to take a photo of it, go ahead. What it is I pull back exposure 10. I pull back contrast 30. I pull back the clarity 30. The saturation back -8, and then the temperature is bumped up a little bit warmer, and the tint is bumped down a little bit green. I just hate like pink skin for some reason, probably because like I am a pink person. But I never want skin to look cold or anything like that. I always want it to look warm and like healthy, I guess. So I'm always tinting green and warming it up towards warm, right? So I'm just gonna take this tool and just go once over their faces. So it's not removing anything that's natural on them. That's what I love about it, is it still keeps the natural looking texture. It just is kind of like smoothing it out to a point where like the focus is now on like their smiles and things like that, for them at least. Like other people wouldn't really notice this, but I just know that if I was them, I would look at my skin in photos that are this close up, right? So let's get in real close. And it still shows like all their like little laugh crinkles and things like that, which I love. And yay. So before and after, it's super subtle, but I think the small subtle things that you do in your editing make the biggest impacts. So I'll show you guys on another photo. Oh, cuties. Ooh. Okay. So the first few things that I see wrong with this photo are he's really, I mean, everything's orange to you guys. Maybe I should cool it down for you. So right here on him is really, really orange, as well as like his face and things like that compared to the rest of them. So I'm basically trying to even out their skin colors so that they all match. Sorry about this projector, guys. That thing has like 10 colors in it. So, but so I'll use the same exact brush, and I'm just gonna go over those discolored spots first of all, and go over all those orange areas. There was like a bunch of like direct sunlight on some orange bushes over here, so that's the light that's reflecting back on him. Just getting those spots. There's a little bit on her, and I'll just pull the saturation back a little bit. I know it doesn't really matter for you guys because everything's orange. And now I'll open it up again. Something that I'm noticing on her is she has like a little bit of like gritty stuff going on with her skin. That's like a gross word to use, sorry. Gritty skin. So I'm just gonna drag this over. So it's not gonna pick up everything, but it's gonna pick up majority of what I'm wanting it to smooth out without sacrificing that texture. You can do it on top of freckles too. So like his freckles are staying. And I always love like age lines to stay. I'm not trying to, yeah, like I said, make people look fake or creamy, gross. So I feel like this is a good way to like soften the texture but not lose all of it. So now that I've done that, I can go into my healing brush. I never use cloning, I only use healing, even when I'm doing like grass and stuff. And I'll just get like this big thing, and that way I'm not going through doing all those like little things individually. So I'll show you guys a little before and after. Okay. So, no, that wasn't it. Have you guys ever come down into the history panel and just gotten lost? Okay. So that's the before and that's the after. So you can kind of see how it smooths out their skin and evens out their skin coloring. At least I can see it. And then you can do way less when you're touching things up. So this is like a little bit more intense of a situation where like there are going to be more things I'm going to have to go in and like clean up on her, but the brush can take care of a lot of it if you strengthen the clarity. So I'm just going to drag it over. And I do it over like their whole face. The clarity does soften things, so if you ever go over like their lips or their eyes or something like that, you'll want to go through and erase it, or you can just avoid it. So I don't want to have to go through and do all these like tiny itty bitty bumps. I'm going to just pull back the clarity even more. And it's getting pretty smooth. I'm going to pull back the contrast. And when you pull back contrast, it's like stripping the blacks. So that's why I have my exposure turned down a bit to kind of like bring it back to looking normal. So even before I like go through and update, like update what? Edit these. I'll show you guys the before and after. So that's before, that's after. So this like saves so much time editing skin. It looks so much better just by like dragging that across. So that makes your workflow like way fast, especially if you shoot people. Okay. The dehaze brush. So the dehaze, like, do you guys ever get scared to shoot in like really hazy situations because it just like makes everything look crazy? Just me? You guys, I get scared of it. 4 people. So I love shooting in direct sunlight and like backlit a lot. And sometimes when you're shooting with that much sun, it gets really, really hazy and it can strip all the color and all the depth out of your images. So the dehaze brush is awesome because it creates depth where light has stripped shadows and blacks. You can control the opacity, strength, the area, and the colors of the haze that you're editing. There is a dehaze option to dehaze the entire image, and that basically ends up looking really, really gross. So I don't recommend using that. I only recommend using it in the adjustment brush. It's only available in Lightroom CC, I believe. So if you have Creative Cloud, you have the brush, but if you have an older version of Lightroom, it won't be there. So I'll show you guys how and where I'll use that and when not to use it. Okay. So where is it? Dehaze. So this isn't like that extreme of a situation, but it is a situation where I would use it on just so that like her skin isn't so like washed out with her really dark hair. So I'll just paint it over it. Wait, it's not doing anything. Oh, here it is. So there's the slider. So that way it's like way less washed out and you can bring back that color that it stripped. This is definitely one where I would use it. I don't know why it's not turned on. So I would do it over like this whole image. For some reason, it looks so bad when you use the dehaze slider down here in the basic panel. It's underneath clarity. It just looks like literally terrible. But for some reason, the brush is like way more reliable for this. And you can like, you just have way more control when you're using the brush. So before and after. So I will dehaze before I start editing that photo. Let's skip that one. So this isn't a situation where I wouldn't use the dehaze. You guys can't really tell, but this is super washed out. So instead of using dehaze on the whole thing, it looks so gross. Instead, there's times where I would rather just work with the blacks and the whites and add contrast that way. When it's the entire image, there's like really no point to doing the dehaze if you can just control the blacks. So I'll grab the blacks and just pull them back, and I'll push the whites up and just add more and more contrast as I go. So it's like way less washed out. That literally looks like how people used to edit in 2004. Cool. The more saturation, the better, right? Okay. So it can also control color and exposure. So I do this mostly with environment and skin tones, like you guys kind of saw with that guy's like orange eye. Environment, I love really, really rich colors. So I'll make skies bluer. Like in this photo up here, I saturated, the lake and the mountains were already really blue, but I saturated them a lot because I want to bring out like its natural color. And sometimes when you're shooting for skin tones, you're like sacrificing the background color. So I'll paint it back in basically. You can make sunsets more vibrant, make grass greener, or you can desaturate oversaturated distractions. So like I use that a lot for, you know, when you're shooting a ceremony and like everything's beautiful and then there's one person on the end of the aisle that's wearing a bright red dress or something like that and you're like, why? So I'll go through and desaturate like little distractions like that are taking away from where I want the attention of the image. So, show you guys that. So I go to, you can make this on your own. Also, you guys, you can make brushes on your own. It's so cool. You just go to save current settings as new preset and you save it. Like I use this all the time. Like I have one for snow. I think there's one built in for teeth whitening. I have my skin one. I have this coloring one. You can like make a ton. Anyways, so I have my saturation boost. So I'm just gonna go through and boost the color of this sunset. Just to kind of bring it out more, as well as all the mountains back here. Yeah, so you can kind of see how that like brings out a lot more color. Whoa, where is it? Okay. I practiced this so many times for you guys, can you tell? Yeah, so this is another situation. It doesn't have to just be with sunsets and things like that. I'll drag this over here, and instead of warming it up, I'll actually like turn this really, really pink. You can turn things really blue, but usually I'm just pulling the saturation slider up. So that's like a before and after. So it's just a way to bring in like a lot of like really cool natural colors back. And when there's times like this where like, why wouldn't you just saturate the entire image? But if I saturate the blues more, like I'm wanting to bring out the blues in this image, but it's gonna like make her swimsuit look straight up blue, but it was white. So I'm gonna use a gradient and just do it all around her. Whoa. And you can just layer these and strengthen them. And then go through and erase any as well. Ooh, that's starting to look bad. Let's delete that one. And then I would just go in with my adjustment brush and fill in the gaps where the gradient didn't hit. So, yeah. Makes sense? Yes, please nod. So yeah, that's how I bring in like extra vibrant colors into my landscape images and things like that. That's so messy. I'm so professional. Okay. Oh, and then skin tones. Did I do one for that? Nope. Okay. All right, the color dropper tool. This tool is so nice. I didn't learn about it until like, I think a year ago, and now I use it every single time I edit. It's like kind of mind-blowing. So I edit with the HSL sliders for skin tones. I'm basically doing all my skin editing with the orange and red and yellow hue and saturation, and sometimes luminance sliders. So where to find the color dropper tool? It's like so secret. That's why I never knew about it, because it's literally this tiny, tiny donut thing right here. How are you supposed to know that exists? I don't know. But it's just a little tool, and you find it underneath the HSL panel. It's not in the color panel. So you can like separate it by like, okay, I'm gonna adjust all the hue of certain colors, the saturation, the luminance. So that's how it's kind of separated, and I'll show you guys how to use it. I was so confused when I first learned how to do it. I was like, what is this sorcery? So I use it to fine tune multiple colors at once. So basically what you're doing is you're using a color dropper, and you drop it on an image, and it's going to pull all the colors that are in that pixel that you dropped it on. So instead of like going through and being like, okay, red hue, move that. Okay, orange hue, move that. It will pull like reds, orange, yellows, all of it all at once, and you can drag it, and it's just way awesome for fine tuning. So I save so much time by doing my skin editing using this color dropper. Yep, here we go. I'm like really bad at segueing things, I've realized. Great. Okay, so in Utah, we shoot in the desert a lot, right? And when you're shooting with red rock, oh my gosh, literally Oompa Loompas. But when you're shooting in red rock and things like that, like it basically is matching their skin tones, right? And so if you're trying to like make their skin tones look good, it might turn the red rock yellow or something like that. So I use the color dropper to like really get the hue of the rock real looking, and then I'll go in with my adjustment brush and color over their faces and things like that to bring their faces back to normal color, because especially with shots like this, like majority of the photo is the landscape, so I'm gonna prioritize that over them because it's way more work for me to go through and color in all this rock with an adjustment brush and bring that back to normal color rather than going in and just fine tuning them with the adjustment brush just on their skin. So you grab this thing. Jay, you're embarrassing me. What are you doing?
I think your mic's dying,
Oh, okay.
so just stay sitting down, you know?
So Jay's looking at my butt. I'm so sorry, guys. This is so embarrassing. Did you do it? I'm plugged in?
Don't go too far.
Yeah, I can't sit on this anymore. Okay, carrying on. Nothing happened. Don't pay
You can
attention.
edit that out. It's
Yeah, just cut it out, Jay. So you select the brush, this tiny, tiny, tiny thing. No one knows it exists. Cool. And you just grab a color, and you can like see how it's pulling multiple colors, not just one in the sliders. Actually, it is just pulling one in that one. Bad example. Interesting how I taught you guys something and it's not real. I'm lying to you about all of this. Oh, there we go. So you see how it's moving the orange and the yellow slider rather than just one at a time? That's what makes this so fast. So I would go in and fix the hue of things, and then that looks good. So yeah, that's my new preset. If you guys want it, it's $5,000.
done.
Great, worth it for sure. So that's like a way that you can like really adjust a lot of colors at once. A lot of presets are like they favor skin tones. And so when people are wearing red, it's gonna adjust the red. So most presets, they push the red hue towards orange, right? Because they don't want like blotchiness on people's skin. But then if people are wearing red, which, I mean, that happens, right? How are you gonna like bring it back to normal? So that's what I use the hue and saturation things for. I actually never really use luminance. I know some people that they use luminance all the time, but I've never really messed with it. So I'm so sorry about the colors of this projector, guys. But like to bring back the red, I would just like hop on this and adjust that. So it's not going to adjust her skin too much, and I'm not hopping around between multiple panels. And then I could grab like the hue of her skin if I feel like it's too red and adjust just her skin instead. So that's a little example of that. And then, okay, this is like a really dramatic like example, I guess. But a lot of presets, they strip the green a lot. It's not my favorite. I like greens. But a lot of presets out there, they will pull and desaturate greens and pull them more yellow. I don't know why. Maybe it's just a trend or something. But to fix that, if you're trying to like get back to like natural greens, like you can see how dead that looks. So I would go into my saturation donut thing and pull the saturation back up. And I go between my before and afters a lot so I can see how to get it as natural looking as I can. Now I'm gonna go to hue and make it a little bit more green. So that's way more realistic looking than it was before. Oops. There we go. So it was like that compared to that. So it's just like a really quick way to do things. Make sense? Validate me. Okay. Yes. Okay, next section, syncing your edits. This is something that like is a lifesaver if you do weddings especially, or if you just shoot a lot of, I don't know, if you just shoot a lot, it's so nice. So syncing edits does have benefits and drawbacks, so you need to know how to use it and how to not use it. The benefits is that it saves you loads of times when used correctly, because what it's basically doing is you're taking a batch of images and you're syncing one edit over all of them, so you can just go to the next group of images. So you don't have to go through each individual one, like copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. That takes so long and it's so tedious. So syncing your edits is a way to like fasten your workflow like crazy. So that way you can spend more time actually editing and like doing what you're there to do rather than waiting for things to render and load. And it's really easy to adjust and resync as you go. Once you get in the hang of it, resyncing things and like making adjustments and then like applying the sync again like becomes super duper fast. The drawbacks is that if you do it wrong, it can actually end up taking you way more time than it should, rather than just like copying and pasting each individual one. So there's a few things to know before I show you an example. There are things that you should and should not sync. So I would not recommend syncing balance or exposure. Any of the local adjustments, so that's like any of the adjustment brushes or the gradients that you put on there because it might not apply to the rest of the images going up. And then not spot removal, because that's basically you going in and like cloning people. Because if you like copy that over, like you might clone a zit out on one face and then like in the next one it's like cloning out like his crotch or something, I don't know. And then like cropping, I never sync my crops. Sometimes I will sync my white balance and exposure if all the images are like super, super consistent and I'm making those adjustments over and over, then I will sync my white balance and exposure. So it's just when to know like yes and no, or when to and when not to sync that. Okay, so I'm gonna hop over and show you guys how to do that. Okay, so what you basically do is you get an edit fixed on an image. And so I know that the next few images are going to be pretty similar situation because they're all indoor light. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna hold down, you're gonna hold shift and select the images that you're wanting to sync. So I know that all of these are gonna work. I don't know if you guys can see this, it's probably not, my butt's covering it. But all of these are really similar lighting situations, so I know that syncing one edit over all of them is gonna be like, it's gonna save me time because then I can just go through and make those little tweaks here and there rather than copying and pasting, waiting for everything to render and load. So you go to here and hit sync and synchronize. And now I have already edited all these and I usually end up just skipping past them because once you get used to doing this, you just kind of know what works and what doesn't work with your editing style and you know what to and what not to sync. I'm going to show you another one. So a lot of people will ask me like, why don't you just apply a preset on import? So Grace does that actually, don't you? Yeah, so Grace applies, she's really invested in what I'm teaching. Shut up. So she applies a preset on import and it works for her, but for me, that would end up taking me way more time to like go through and undo it and then resync and like, to me, it's just not worth it. I'm way faster at just syncing as I go. So I'll sync the first image of a batch of similar images and then do that. But this is an example of like, I don't know, to me, like if I'm shooting like window light, like these next few images are, like those are all great, like all those are gonna be consistent with the way that I edit. But if I hop over to a way different lighting situation like flash, it's gonna look way different because it's gonna be like taking into account all the colors and things like that. So I am only doing like the first of each set of images. So this is an example of where I wouldn't sync like lighting like this with lighting like that. So I would just hold down that, hit sync, and then go through and make the small little adjustments that I need to. So that way I'm not even really like, I'm never going over to my preset panel. I'm just doing everything on my keyboard. So I'll usually let my mouse hover over. Oh, also some people get weirded out when I use this histogram. Yeah, some people are like, what are you doing? So what this basically is, do you see how right here, it'll say exposure, shadows, blacks, highlights, and whites. So watch down here. If I go to the white section, watch this slider, it's going to move it. So it's way faster for me to hover over this because it's like a way bigger block rather than this like tiny, tiny baby little dot. So it's a lot easier for me to just like go up to the histogram and drag up there rather than like get these little dots. I don't know, it's something that I'm like really weird about, and I think it makes me a lot faster because then I can just let my mouse hover over something and I don't even have to like touch my trackpad or anything like that when I'm editing. So that's just like a little way that I am fast, but yeah, sorry, that kind of confuses people sometimes.
Do you always edit on your laptop? Or do you have like a Mac? Or
I have, oh my gosh, the colors. I have an iMac at home. I typically am editing on my laptop because I like to sit on the couch. But I do think my Mac is better because you can see it so much bigger. But I also feel like I edit faster on a laptop because the images aren't so big. I'm not paying so much attention to like little things and getting hung up on these like little minuscule things that like really no one else pays attention to besides you. Like your clients aren't noticing that stuff. So I think it makes me faster just because I'm like more so like seeing everything as a batch rather than like, oh, this little thing isn't perfect, like, and like getting hung up on stuff like that. So usually my laptop, but sometimes I do my iMac. So do's and don'ts just to review for the syncing. Do sync similar lighting situations together, sync in batches, and then make tweaks as you go and resync. If you find yourself like, oh, I'm adjusting like the tint over and over and over, then like hold down the rest of them that you were gonna sync and hit the sync button again with the updated tint. Don't apply the preset on import unless you're like Grace, she's anti not doing that. And don't just sync a couple of photos at a time because that, like when you're doing that, that's basically just taking you more time than just like copying and pasting a preset. So I usually make sure I have at least like 10 to sync. And then don't sync exposure or adjustment brushes unless it's intentional. And then I'm going to email this to you guys so you don't have to take a photo of it because there's no way you'll be able to read it if you took a photo of it. But I made you guys a little mini guide to quick keys. So you guys can learn how to like get really, really quick in Lightroom by just like working off of your keyboard. So I'm usually never really touching my trackpad. So it will look like this when I email it to you. Yay. So I recommend, you're so welcome. It'll look like this. I recommend just learning like 2 each time that you edit. I feel like that's a good like learning rate so that like once you kind of know and like you don't have to like refer to the guide to know like which quick keys do what, then that's like when you should like learn 2 more. But like without these, I feel like I would take forever. I can't stand touching my mouse when I edit. I usually do everything on my keyboard. Oh, and then essentials for post-editing process. So we're going to talk about resizing files, blogging, and sales. So resizing, this is a program called JPEG Mini. Also, I feel like when people hear me talk about products, they're like, oh, you're sponsored. I'm not. I use this and I love it, and I actually don't get paid by any of these companies, so I actually like think you guys should use this. We're giving away all these things that I'm going to talk about too. Yeah. So JPEG Mini is a program that basically takes image files and crunches them like crazy amounts. So it saves so much space on your hard drives, which ends up saving you a lot of money in the long run. When I first heard about it, I was like, yeah, right, this is like gonna make it so my clients can't print their photos bigger than like a 4x6. But it isn't touching the actual image, it's only touching the file sizes, and like, I don't really understand how it works. It's like straight up sorcery. But it's great because then you have way faster upload and download speeds. So I don't know if you've ever been in this situation. Like if you have CenturyLink like me, or I used to, I would have to go to a cafe and like wait 4 hours for a gallery to upload. But when you crunch all the files, in this program, it like uploads in like 5 minutes. Or if you have Google Fiber, if you're in Salt Lake, it uploads in like 2 seconds, like me. So it doesn't affect the image quality at all. You can still print like as large as you want without any loss of resolution. I think there is a limit. It's basically like billboard size. But I don't really care. Like even if something is going to be blown up to a billboard, like I'm going to know before someone does that. And I always store my raw photos. So I still have like the full resolution image, like the full resolution raw. So if that ever does happen, which it literally never will, I could go back and re-edit it as like the full exported version, not crunched down at all. And it's 89 bucks just one time. So I think that's super worth it. It more than pays for itself. Blogging. I used to freaking hate blogging. I know a lot of people will not blog for like 6 months or like a year or like never. They'll get way behind on blogging because they're like, oh my gosh, it takes so much time. Like it's so time consuming. I hate it. I hate having to go through and export things differently. I don't really know what's good and what's bad for my blog. A lot of people make the mistake of like doing it wrong and then they basically ruin their website so it doesn't load. So this program's awesome. It's called Narrative. It's like, there's a few different plans, but it ranges from $6 to $15 a month. I think I have the $6 a month one. If you're blogging a ton, you might want the most expensive one. But basically, like their whole thing is that you can build a full blog post in 5 minutes. There's no need to export from Lightroom or save your images any certain way. The program does that for you, and you hook it up to your site. So when you set it up, you link it to your website, and it automatically reads what is the best like optimization size for your site for it to have the fastest loading times and the best SEO. There's SEO suggesters built in with it. So I don't know like crap about SEO, and also I don't have time to like do that. Like I don't know anything about that world. But it's really cool because it has this thing built in where it will tell you like, okay, you need more words in your description or else Google's gonna penalize you. You need to put your keywords in the images. You need to do it on at least 5 of them. You need to include these keywords in your title. You need to do this, this, and this. So it's really cool because it literally teaches you how to do SEO. Otherwise, I would not do it. And it only takes like 5 minutes. Like it's super duper fast. So this like program taught me SEO. And then it's awesome because you can export collages for Pinterest and sharing with clients on social media. So like I could select like this. Usually it would be like there's lots more images, but you could like select that and export it as a collage, and I'll send those to people for like their sneak peek images. Then they can like post it on Facebook and stuff like that. I've also done it where I like select like this many images so it looks like an iPhone screen, and I'll export that and I'll upload that to my story when I blog something. Because if you've ever done the Unfold app or like any app that like makes collages for you for your Instagram story, it takes forever to like airdrop your photos to your phone, import them into that thing, export them back out of it, put them on Instagram. It just takes way too long. So I'll use this program for that. And then finally, sales. I super highly recommend using a gallery delivery system that has a built-in shop for automated print and album fulfillment. So you don't have to do anything. So I know Pixieset does this. I use PicTime. There's probably a few others, right? Like Pass probably has it, yeah. So I love PicTime the most. I compared a lot of the different gallery deliveries, and this one won, like 10 out of 10. And this is why. It has an algorithm built into it. So it tracks each visitor, and basically it's like watching them and tracking like what images they spend the most time on, how many times they visit an image, what ones they download the most, and things like that. And then it takes that and it puts it into this shop for them. So when they go down, they see their very favorite images put into their albums, put into like prints and frames and things like that. So it entices them to buy more. They did like studies on it, and it like increases your sales like a ton. I think you taught me that.
It's amazing.
It's crazy. It takes out the need to design albums. I don't know if you guys design albums or not, but if you don't, it's like the easiest way to bring in at least like 10K more a year if you do weddings. I have friends that make like over $100,000 a year on albums, and they don't have to do anything because this program does it for you, because they're like your clients can go in and design their own, and then you just get like money emailed to you basically. So You can also do these automated coupons, which is really cool. So I'll show you guys that. So it has like all these coupons built in. You can also like make your own. But like I just ran like a Valentine's Day sale and I made like $900 just by sending out this one coupon, which took me like 5 minutes to do. You can set it so that on their anniversary, it automatically sends them an email. On their birthday, it automatically sends them an email. For Christmas, Black Friday, all of that, like it's already built in, and you can set like who it does and doesn't send to. And it's really cool. So like if you're sending out an email that says like 30% off prints, you can go into your pricing tiers and mark everything up 10%. So it's actually they're only getting 20% off, but they think they're getting 30, which is a little sketchy. But otherwise, they won't buy prints, so I'm not that mad about it. But yeah, this is like such an awesome way to bring in like way more money per year, like so fast, so easy. You don't have to do a thing. So if you're like struggling with like hitting your mark of like what you want to make per year, start pushing your albums and sales. This is something that I remind people of. Like once the gallery is delivered, I'll tell them like, hey, there's a shop built into that so you can order all of your prints. I recommend ordering through this because Walmart is the worst. And I just tell them also like it helps support me, so I'd rather you support me than Walmart, to be honest. And you won't look like an Oompa Loompa when you get your prints back. And yeah, and my clients love it. They've all had great experiences with it, and I super recommend using it. So now Grace's turn. Yeah.
Oh, don't run away. You're not. Oh my God.
I have a towel.
So does anyone actually know what their workflow is costing them? No. Cool. Y'all, you will after this. Okay, you will learn what you're actually making per session wedding. How your package price doesn't actually matter. What? And 3 ways to make more money. Okay, cool. So what are you actually making? So we're gonna do a class exercise. This is fun. Lots of thinking and writing and hating ourselves. So in your notebook, I hope you brought your notebook. If you didn't, grab your phone. That works too. I want you to write down the price of the wedding package. If you're not a wedding photographer, if you do like just like families or whatever package that you book the most of, write that price down. Just like write it right down. And be honest, like you're the only one that's gonna see this, so that's fine, like just be honest. Y'all, I already hear the sounds happening. Okay, this like, oh God, like, oh shit. Okay, so first, we are gonna talk about hours spent. So this is not a thing a lot of people talk about, the actual time investment when it comes to workflow, because again, a lot of people don't know. So that's what we're gonna figure out. So I want you, now on the next line of your notebook, I want you to estimate the amount of hours that you spend emailing with clients and going to meetings. So if you're driving to Starbucks, like I want you to include your drive time. If you have like, if your clients are just like emailing you all day and night, like just estimate. This is just rough, so.
Like a day or a week or a month, like hours?
Hours, like a couple hours. Like if you drive an hour to meet them at Starbucks in town, yeah, it's just rough, but we're just estimating.
Jay, what do you need?
She's raising her hand.
Oh.
She's raising her hand.
Oh, it was the same question.
Oh, yeah.
Like, are you talking about like a month?
No, hours. Just hours.
Like per month or per week or?
The whole wedding, the whole client experience. Yeah.
Per client. Okay.
So that app, yes, everything. Sorry. Everything we're talking about is for that average package that you book. So just pick your most average client that you work with and estimate hours. Sorry, I know that's what you're asking, but yeah. Cool. So then, traveling. So if your most commonly booked package is like a destination wedding in Mexico, I want you to calculate the travel to the airport on the flight. Just estimate. If your average client is just 5 minutes away, like then this is short for you. So just again, really general basic estimations. Shooting. So that wedding, your average package, is it 10 hours, is it 8 hours, whatever. If you include an engagement session, try to add that in too. So is that an extra hour of shooting or 2? The traveling, like what's the distance for that engagement? Bridals, I know that's a thing here. We don't do that in Oregon.
When I try and explain that to people, they're like, what?
I was like, what is this thing?
Like, it's so normal.
Yeah. So just add that in if you do engagements. Downloading, culling, and editing. This is the part that nobody knows the actual answer to, so just estimate. If you feel like that average wedding that you're working on like all day and all night, plus the engagements, like just, I don't know, just guess. It's a lot though, let's be honest.
3,000 hours. I'm so glad someone got that reference. Sometimes I'll edit
Yeah, it's just estimation. That's it. Okay. Ordering and delivering. So if you're making albums for like if you don't use QuickTime and you're making the albums yourself, if you're ordering packet like prints or canvases, if you have to drive to the post office, if you like, you know those boxes with like shit inside, like nature and like USB sticks and stuff, like, you know, not actual shit, but like moss and like, you know, like wrapped all nice. Like if you make those nice boxes for your clients and like send them out, like they're beautiful, but like just estimate how much time it takes you to put those together and like send one to a client. And then like post office driving or whatever. Okay, blogging and posting on social media. So narrative, again, like this all comes back to these programs we're talking about. But if like blogging takes you forever, or like if you're sitting on Instagram for like 4 hours trying to write a caption, like add that in. It happens. So once you have that all done, I want you to calculate the total hours spent. And if you want to take a picture of this screen, like that's great too, because this is something that like once you know the answer to this, you're gonna like want to change it. So this is like a good template to have, because then moving forward, like you can redo your numbers like in a month and see how much like you've improved. So cool. Is everybody good with hours? Yeah? Cool. So now we're going to talk about costs. So the first cost, and again, just that average wedding. So if your destinations and like you're booking air flights and like driving to the airport and like eating food for 4 days to like shoot in Mexico, calculate that in. But if you're just shooting local or like just shooting in southern Utah or whatever, like figure out, you know, the cost of like your gas down there and back. So just again, rough estimations is fine. Okay. Albums, prints, and gifts. So if you include albums, prints, and gifts in your wedding package, I want you to write down the cost of those things, like your out-of-pocket costs, not what you're profiting, what you actually pay for that album, print, yeah, etc. If you take your clients to like lunch, dinner, coffee, add that in, because that's all cost. Okay. Second shooters and assistant fees. So if you hire a second shooter, if you pay an assistant, what's your price? What are you paying them? And then daycare, or like also dog sitters or like house sitters if you're traveling. What are you paying for that? And then I want you to add up that number. Yeah, and then grab a photo of this too, because this is, and maybe too, like we can email some of this stuff out to
Yeah,
people.
we can email you this whole presentation.
Cool.
If you guys want.
Yay! Yay!
You're just like zooming on your phone.
I know, it's all grainy and gross. Okay, so now math. I know, right? Just grab your phone. Like, I can't do math at all, so it's cool. So your package price, subtract your total cost, and then divide the total hours you spend. Math like makes me nervous. I hate, this is why I'm in the like artistic profession, because I don't know how to math. What?
I don't know what that is. What is that?
What is math? I don't.
Who is it?
Who is it?
You trying to say Matt?
Meth. Kidding. Okay, does everybody have their number yet?
Yeah.
Some people? Does anybody want to share?
81.
81? 90?
49.
40? 49? 60? 40?
6.
6. Okay. Anybody else? Did anybody beat 90? Yes. Do you want to teach? I'm like,
Yeah, let me get out of here.
I'm out of here. I'm just kidding. Okay, I don't know. The lowest I heard was like 40. Did anyone get lower than 40? It's okay if you did.
You guys, I did this like a few years ago, and I was making $4.75 an hour. So like.
Yeah, I'm making 7, so.
Okay. Okay. Here's the thing. I know. Like, I'm making negative money. I am paying them so I can shoot their wedding. Take my money. Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. Okay, so real quick, because now like we have 90 and then some 40s. So let's just take those numbers for like just a quick reference. That's your hourly rate. Okay, that's fine. Guess what I didn't include at all? Tax, insurance, website fees, subscription fees, Adobe fees. So cut that number in half. Slash it. I hate myself.
Too much right
Okay. What? Whoa, that's cool. Okay. So yeah, how much did, yeah, we already know. Was it worth the time away from your family? Or your friends? Or your dog? Or your bed? Netflix. Netflix is my partner. So I do this exercise a lot with people that I mentor. And usually they're like making less than minimum wage. And they're fucking so stressed. And they're overworked. And they're missing their kids growing up. And they're making less than they are working at McDonald's. And so the answer to this is no, hopefully. You might hate your family, I don't know. Dad?
Sounds like a personal problem.
Dad. I'm just kidding. So yeah, probably not, right? So that is like a really good thing just to have in your pocket, and you can do that with every one of your wedding packages. So we did your most commonly booked package. You should really know those numbers. So when you go home, not probably tonight, because you'll be drunk, but like next week, you can run that same math, whatever, through all of your packages, like through your engagement packages, through your like newborns, families, everything that you do, you should know those numbers. Like you can't really run a business and not know your numbers. I mean, you can, but you'll probably burn out and quit. Running a small business is like a lot, and profits and losses and understanding like what you're actually making is really, really important. And so yes, so do that, you know, that exercise with all of your stuff and understand your numbers. And then you can kind of like figure out what can be cut back on, like what are areas that you can work on, what are things that you can like invest less time in, or like find ways to cut the time. So I'm just gonna do a little case study with you too, because I wanna show you an example of why your package price doesn't really matter. So I'm gonna show you the difference between two photographers that I totally made up. So photographer number one, their most commonly booked package is an 8-hour wedding for $6,000. So in the wedding world, like all we ever look at is $6,000 and we're like, shit, they're like successful, right? Okay, cool. But like their total hours for this wedding is like 76 hours. So their total out-of-pocket cost is about $1,000 because like maybe they include a second shooter and like maybe they include an album and like whatever. So their total hourly rate is $66 an hour. So photographer number two, 8-hour package for $2,000, which we're kind of just like, oh man, like that doesn't seem like a lot, right? But they're hella fast. They don't include a lot, like maybe just like a print or like a small album. Their total hourly rate is $102 an hour. So here's the thing. While like, what's really important in this case study that I completely made up to prove a point is the hours. So like, yes, they're making less because they're charging less, but look how much time they're getting back. So like this is time that they can use to invest in other businesses, in hobbies that like they used to love, in spending time with their family, in like self-care. Like what is that? Do we even know? Or just like booking more weddings. So this is just a general example, and I'm not telling you like the answer is to lower your price. I'm telling you the answer is to speed the fuck up. Can I say that here? I don't know. Okay.
You can edit it out.
Just edit it. Can you make me skinnier?
This is real.
So we like, okay, does anyone here not want to make more money? Okay, okay, that's why you married India, let's be honest. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm joking. So obviously, we all want to make more money. Yes, that's obvious. So you can charge more. That's like traditional business advice. Like people are like, raise your price. If you post in a Facebook group, like, what do I do? Everyone's like, raise your prices. Okay, what if you can't do that? Like, what if you're completely maxed out? What if you're brand new and you can't justify like charging more? You can work more. That's also really popular like opinion right now in the wedding industry, is just like, shoot 100 weddings a year. Hard pass, guys, because like that's a lot of weddings. And I got a lot of Netflix to catch up on. So work faster. Like I said, that's the answer here. And that kind of like brings me to the end of my little talk. And if you want to come back up, because we have like the stuff to do. But like just in closing, in like my talk about like workflow and working faster, India and I are working on the workflow workshop, and a lot of like, yeah, please, sorry, save me. No, I'm kidding. A lot of like what we're going to talk about in the workshop are like ways to be faster so that you can get those numbers up. And yeah, I don't know, I don't want to be like too promoty or whatever, but we're really excited about like sharing everything that we know and everything that we've learned like the hard way about being faster so that you can have more time for real life and have more time for hobbies and like even like other things that can make you money, like just ways that you can invest back in yourself so that you can increase like the longevity of your business. So yeah, that's our workshop, but I don't know what you have for this. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you guys. I'm so excited about the raffle. I want to do it right now, but we'll wait. We'll do the Q&A for like, what time is it?
9.
Okay, let's do Q&A for like 10, 15 minutes. Yeah?
Can you see her?
Oh, I'll come back.
Oh, no, I mean like all the way on that side.
Okay. Yeah.
Turn it on.
Okay. All right. So once I get this on, you guys can ask us questions for 10 to 15 minutes.
10 to 15 minutes.
So we're actually doing this whole thing to promote our ASMR.
15 minutes.
Stop. Don't stand there.
Don't. Oh yeah, he told me we're in the light. Can you see?
Can we, I don't know, what do you
Can
want
we
me to
sit
do?
on the ground? What do we do?
I'm so close to these
Do you want to
people now.
sit on my lap?
Can I just stand next to Grace, like right here?
Yeah, just out of the.
You just can't be in the light because there we go. Okay. Hi.
Okay.
You got questions? We
All right.
got answers.
You guys
Maybe.
can ask questions. You can ask them specifically to one of us, or we can both answer. Or if you want to teach us something, go for it. We don't care. This is your time to like ask us whatever. So, yeah.
So like I like to do senior photos. Like that's like what I kind of do right now. But like I have like a couple questions. So the first one is like I feel like I've been stuck like just shooting people that like are from my hometown, and it's like how am I supposed to like get my name out there more and like increase like my amount of clients? And like I know that like that's kind of hard, especially when you're starting out. But it's like I feel like I've just been stuck in the same little area for like so long now, and it's like I want to be able to like get to like other cities and like have other people see my work and stuff.
Yeah. Do you want to go or do you want me?
Yeah, like my biggest piece of advice, and I'll just be short because I know there's probably a lot of questions, but is just to like use social media to find people, other businesses and like maybe models, or just like connect with people in different locations and maybe set up something for free that you're in control of so that you can like have more, you know, creative like control over it. Just get content to like promote yourself in different areas, and networking.
I feel like I was stuck in like this really small town for a long time, and I could not get any clients outside of it, and I like really wanted to travel and like literally just get anyone outside of my town because everyone was just like super like white trash, and I can say that because I am white trash. But I wouldn't want to shoot me. But I found what works the very best is like, because I would do the social media stuff. I would post on Instagram, I would do like hashtags or whatever. I'd like reach out to vendors. And eventually I just found that the best way to like get yourself out there and like make more connections is to literally go to the places that you want to shoot and talk to people and meet people and reach out to local photographers and talk to them and reach out to local florists, vendors, like all those. Like the more that you can like connect with like the industry and like the amazing community around you, the more like you can get your name out. Like, and that sounds kind of dumb, but like I have, I went to Oregon. It was in Oregon one time. I went to Oregon on just like a fun trip. I was like, I'm just gonna go set up like a couple styled shoots like Grace said to do. And out there, I ended up meeting like all these photographers, and now like we send each other work all the time. So they'll fly out to Utah and like shoot the stuff that I can't shoot, and vice versa. Like that's like a really great way is like making friends and then just being like, do you want to refer me to people you can't take? And then like once you get like your like foot in one place, it starts snowballing. Like if you do like one wedding outside of your area, people will see that and it instills like some trust in them to be like, okay, like she could do ours too. And then like it just turns into a snowball and it gets bigger and bigger. Like I hadn't ever shot outside of Utah until like 2.5 years ago. And now I go all over the world for every shoot I do. So it grows really, really fast. But yeah, I would just say like literally being friends with people and like doing stuff like this, like talk to each other for real. Yeah.
What are you guys' exporting settings? I haven't ever shot outside of
Oh.
I thought you were talking, like answering the question. I was like, come on up.
CPI and your quality and stuff. What do you
I just do full quality because JPEG Mini does all the compression for me. So yeah.
You both use the JPEG?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's the best. And they have like a free trial, I'm pretty sure. So if you're on the fence, like you can just get like the trial or the light version or whatever.
Yeah, mine's the same way. So I do 100 quality JPEG, and then I do 300 resolution. I've never had an issue with that. If you do less than 300 pixels per inch, some people have problems with that. I don't really
I think
understand what it
300
is.
is standard. Like, yeah, just 300 is what you
don't
want
mess
to.
with it.
Yeah, just leave
like
it.
set it and forget it. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you book out of state weddings or like destination weddings, how do you go about like the costs? Like, does your client pay for that? As far like, do they book the like flights?
All the things.
Yeah, all the things.
Yeah.
Or do you go and do all that yourself? Like, what's the process with that?
I think there's two like really popular ways. I do the less popular way. I would say the best way to do it is to wrap all those costs into your package. So like if you're traveling somewhere consistently, so like you're in Utah, if you're consistently going down to Zion for weddings or to like Southern California or to Idaho or something like that, estimate like what the average cost for that trip is for you. So like take into account not only like your flights and stuff, but like your gas money, the mileage on your car, like parking, all the food you're gonna eat, like pulling over for a gas station burrito. Like take into account all of those things and wrap it into like one package price. Clients love seeing like a one and done round price because then they know exactly what they're paying for and there won't be any unexpected costs. The way I do it though, and then with that first way, you just do you book it all on your own. Sometimes the flights will cost more than what you budgeted for, but sometimes they'll also cost less. So then like it ends up evening out typically if you're consistently traveling to the same locations. Like if you're always going to the West Coast, you could have a West Coast package, and that's anything like west of Utah. So that's like an example. It doesn't just have to be like by state or city. But what I do, since I travel like really sporadically all over, I don't do that because I wouldn't feel fair to my clients. Like on my end, things would like even out cost-wise, but I don't feel fair to my clients like having my New York City weddings pay the same as like Idaho wedding. Like that, like if you're getting married somewhere expensive, like you need to pay for that and like all the costs that come with it. And I don't want my Idaho people to like be paying the average between those two. So to me, it's more fair to my clients to just like show them the exact costs and I basically tell them like once they book that I'll send them flights, and when they're okay with me moving forward to book, like when they're okay with the price, I confirm it with them, I book, and then they have to pay me back within 1 week of receiving the invoice. So that's in my contract. And then a lot of times my couples will end up just booking my hotel for me because they get like a group rate discount. Just make sure you're not like getting into like a Motel 6 where there's like pennies in between the sheets. Or I'll stay at their house with them or at their Airbnb. And then car, I'll offer for them to have their bridesmaid or someone pick me up from the airport, drive me back or whatever. Or I'll just rent a car, whatever's cheap. And then if I'm driving, I charge $1 to the mile one way. And that includes everything. So that's how I do it. That was a lot, sorry.
I mean, I'm kind of the same way. I just like, I do have different prices that I charge for location. Like if it's local, I have like a package guide that I send out. If it's Hawaii, I have a Hawaii guide that I send out. But then I do add on travel, and I say, you can expect to pay at least this much, like just in general, based on what like my experience has been. But it could be, you know, a little bit, like it could be less. I always try to like overestimate, and then like they're excited when they pay less. But yeah, I just like try to keep it really simple and just like generally estimate what travel might cost, just based on like the time of year or whatever. But yeah.
And never let your clients book flights for you unless unless you're like Skyping them and like choosing it with them, or else you'll like be on the back row in the middle seat that doesn't recline at like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
I've been there.
What's your kind of process? Like, obviously you guys are more experienced now, so for like a beginner, what would the process be if you told a client a price and then they said that it was like too high? Like, do you come down? Do you like try and meet them? Do you just say like, okay, sorry? Like, how would you go about
No, never apologize. My rule of thumb is if anyone ever asks for a discount, I will not give it. I give discounts all the time, but it's because I'm offering it.
Yeah.
Never ever give a discount to someone that asks for it or makes you feel like you're being pushed into doing it. So that's like my rule. And like, I don't know, you have better things to do than like work for someone that like doesn't value you. Like there's so many people getting married and like having babies and graduating high school and stuff. Like you can book something else.
How does that conversation kind of like go? Like how do you tell them?
Oh, I just tell them like, well, so I have my starting prices on my website, so no one reaches out that can't hire me.
Right.
I already know that if they are reaching out, they can afford me. So I assume that they're my client from the get-go. I don't put all my prices on my website, just my starting. So I know they can at least afford my base packages.
Another thing too is like, in a way, like we should be tracking our booking success rate, which Honeybook does for you, by the way. But if you, we were just talking about that today. If you are booking a ton, you know, okay, it's probably time I raise my price. But on the other hand, like if you are not booking at all, if you're finding like that you are maybe priced too much for your experience level or like, just I would say like prices are not like set it and then they're like done forever. They should always be kind of changing based on how you're booking. And so if you find that you're just like not booking, like it's okay to lower your prices. I mean, you do need to work and you do need to get experience, so.
Yeah, I don't think that like you should follow the like weird rule that the photography industry has of like raise your prices every year at the end of the year. Like people will be like, oh, raising my like prices for 2019. Like I raise my price, I'll raise and lower my prices like every month.
Yeah.
It just depends on my demand. So how many people are booking? I think there was a question back there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the pick time, just simple. So
wait, speak up.
With the pick time, there's different like levels. It's $0 to the 34. When you guys were talking about it, what do you guys have? Do you guys use the free one or do you pay?
I have a middle, or no, I use the most expensive one because then it has like unlimited.
Yeah, I also use.
And that's just galleries, right?
It's like how much space you get. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you use JPEG Mini, that gives you way more space.
Which would help you on pick time.
Yeah, so you'd save money. You could like technically have like the second lowest. I have like galleries of like 7 years worth on there. So I have all of them on there.
So it's 100% worth it to pay the 34 though.
It is.
I think so. It's like unlimited forever. Yeah, and they do like high res backup. And if you're moving from one gallery delivery system to another, it's $2 a gallery for them to like transfer it over and then resend it to your clients.
And really quick, the one issue with PickTime though, there's no like contact number. It's all like through chat. Have you guys had issues where there's like talking to them in customer service?
They're fast.
They're really fast.
They're really fast.
They're like
perfect.
Amazing.
Okay.
And the other thing too about the 7-year backup, like I know a lot of people are like, your gallery's only archived for a year and then I delete it forever. But the reason why like it's good to keep it for freaking ever, because you know all those coupons she showed?
Yeah.
Like 4 years later you can send out a Merry Christmas and they're gonna order like wedding pictures from 2 years ago, and you're gonna consistently be getting passive income. And all of those coupons you can set to automate, and they send out for you like at any holidays you pick. So like 4 years ago wedding, you can still make $200 every Christmas. Like it's just it's genius. I love them so much. Yeah.
I was just gonna add, I have had PickTime since I think September, and I have 84 galleries, and I haven't had to pay a dime yet because it has like a free certain amount, and I don't have the crusher thing either. So my pictures are super high space. So for a few months it's free. But I was also gonna ask, how many or what percentage do you guys put to make from when people order prints off of your PickTime?
Oh, like
how much do you mark it up?
Oh yeah, I do. I think a general rule of thumb is to do 4 times the amount that it costs you. Okay. That's what I learned, and I don't know, but people buy it, but like it's really not that much. Like if so, like a 5x7 print is 12 cents, and you just charge like 70 cents for it or whatever. Yeah. That wasn't correct math at all, but I know that like 4 times is the general amount, depending on your clientele. Like for really big price items, like my albums that like now I charge almost $2,000 for.
Each one and like
you can.
Okay, I thought it was like general. So that's
Nice. No, you can do both. But yeah, like if you're starting out in albums and you're like introducing them to clients and getting it going, you could just do like 2 times the amount, and then like a few months later do 3, next year 4. Yeah. I think you had a question like forever ago.
For like
location scouting when you like can't go there ahead of time, or like you're going somewhere new with a client and you don't really know like what it's gonna be like, you don't have time to go ahead of time, like what do you do to like find new places and like to know what it's like?
Google Maps or like ask other photographers?
Yeah, I'll reach out to other photographers, or I go on Pinterest and Yelp, or like travel, what's it called?
TripAdvisor?
TripAdvisor, yeah.
Because people, like random people will post pictures on TripAdvisor.
Yeah, so you can go on and look up the location, then click like scenic attractions, and I'll just go through all of those and then scout all those out through that. And then if my clients are local to that place, I'll have them go scout it for me, and then they'll FaceTime me. And I'll just, like, they kind of understand light, because I have a bride guide that teaches them how to understand light and location scouting for me, because I usually am traveling and I can't show up early always. So I basically just tell them like, all right, sunset, make sure it's not ugly. Like, but if they're really not sure, that like helps them. And then, yeah, I've never done Google Maps. I usually just do TripAdvisor.
Yeah.
But maybe 2 more questions.
Yeah. I saw one, yeah. Oh, no, you were next.
Yeah,
you're
ahead,
right, sorry.
So you pin on Pinterest. I'm guessing probably both of you probably use Tailwind. But what's your like strategy for naming and boards and
so
like do you put your tags on your board or do you do it each?
Yeah. So Tailwind, if you guys don't know what that is, it's basically an automated posting program for Pinterest. I think they made it so you can do it with Instagram too now.
Oh.
I think it's like $10 a month or something. But like, basically, I do all my marketing through Tailwind. I don't like 70% of my clients come through Pinterest. I don't even really care about my Instagram. Like I get clients through there, but my best clients come through Pinterest. That's where I put my energy. Because also if Instagram like went away tomorrow, like Pinterest isn't a social media, it's a search engine. So you can do search engine optimization, which is what Tailwind is for. I took a class from Photobug, which is ran by Junebug Weddings. And the course is called Pinterest for Wedding Photographers, but it's applicable no matter what you shoot. And they teach you how to do like really strategic keywords and how to like basically trick Pinterest into showing your images when people look up like engagement photos or like Utah wedding venues or like Utah florists or something like that, you'll come up. And then it like is awesome because then it's just a direct link. If they click on it, they are immediately on your website and seeing your whole portfolio.
Your whore.
Cut that.
No.
Authentic.
Your whore portfolio. And
I mean, sex sells.
It sells.
It sells.
And it's great because Pinterest has way better longevity than Instagram.
Longevity.
Jay hates that I say longevity.
No, it's a lot of words. She says longevity. She says ETA instead of ETA.
She is like calling you out.
I literally don't know why I invited you.
Where I draw the line.
Whoa. Huh. We need to talk to you outside after this.
Really? I'm kidding.
It's fine. I don't know. I grew up in a weird town. But I don't remember what I was talking about now, Jaren.
Oh, Pinterest.
Anyways, I used that class. So like, I was just gonna say like listen to her because I am shit at Pinterest and I forget about it all the time and I'm like, yeah, I need to take that class. So. One like really quick, easy way that you can like look up what keywords to do though to like directly answer that question is to like go on Pinterest and you know how like if you start typing something, it'll bring up a menu below it and it will say like the next words that are suggested. Those are the words that I put into my posts. So that's like the best way, because that's like those are what people are searching the most. So that's what I use. One more question,
that
maybe?
was the last one I saw.
So my workflow is like completely inefficient from this.
Oh no!
I was wondering, do you guys like edit in batches? Like, do you edit all your portraits and you edit all, like reception, or do you? Because right now I've been like basically importing everything, going through everything at once, like color correcting, then cropping, and then like doing all of that, but there's probably a better way.
Well, that's the biggest question I've ever heard. Well, Well, we're literally making a whole course on this.
Yeah.
That's like why we wanted to do this, because we were like, oh my gosh, we have so much to teach. Let's like do a like little free education night for fun, since we have so much content. But basically, I do the sync editing, obviously. I talked to you guys about that. But I just sit down and I like usually will power through until I'm like, okay, I need a break. And then I'll just come back when I feel like it. Wait, I don't know what you're asking, kind of.
Yeah, like, so in sections, like so like with syncing editing, yeah, the portraits are all like usually done in a certain lighting condition in a certain location, and so like, you would like batch those together versus like reception, that's different lighting. So yeah, I think, is that what you were saying? Like,
I'm just saying, like, I am going through everything at once. Not necessarily like I'm syncing all the, you know, I'm doing like you guys were saying, like syncing the portraits and stuff like that, but I didn't know if I should be doing it a different way, like not going through the entire day at once. Like,
oh, I think that's fine to do. Whatever like you like to do that. Like whatever way you feel the fastest. Like try doing things in chunks. If you don't know, like just try it.
And too, like if you just said you feel like you're not very efficient, then try something different. Like I think like the goal, once you know now that like maybe that needs improvement, like find other ways, like just test something. So the next time you go shoot a session, like do it a little differently and see what works. And like, but for me personally, I sit down at my desk and I complete an entire wedding in like an hour. I know.
It's gonna be crazy.
It's like, I know, I'm like not saying that for like claps. It's like on steroids and it's crazy, but I have to do it all at once because like if I get distracted, like it'll take me 2 weeks to come back to it. So, but yeah, you just have to find, I guess, what works for you, and yeah.
Okay guys, we're gonna do the raffle now. I'm so excited! Okay, these are our sponsors. They're so cool. Yay, thank you.